The Beekeepers are the new high table, only better. Over the last few years, those of us that enjoy a good action movie have been enthralled by John Wick and his war with the high table. The first movie had a few moments of strong storytelling and character development, but the writers were careful not to let any of that interfere with the fight scenes or stunts that the choreographers had planned in any of the following movies. While I do get invested in story and character development, only the most foolish of producers think that's why we were there for John Wick. John Wick was a bad guy. He was the protagonist. He had a sympathetic backstory. He was our point of view into the world he lived in. He was the hero of the story. The story was structured such that we were rooting for him. And make no mistake, I do understand that he was trying to put his past behind him at the beginning of the first movie. Be all that as it may, John Wick was an assassin for the Russian mafia. He was trying to put that behind him, but then he was attacked in his home in a time of emotional weakness and hurt in a way that only a mourning husband can be hurt. The result was him re-entering that world in exactly the same capacity that he left it, an assassin taking out other assassins. There was no altruism in John Wick's motivation. He wasn't going after the worst of the Russian mafia. He was going after the Russian mafia bosses that were connected to those that hurt him. Once John Wick had his revenge, and make no mistake, it was revenge, not justice, John Wick would have been perfectly satisfied to lay down his guns and go back to his home and simply live his life, knowing that close associates and friends of those who he had killed were going about murdering and extorting. Adam Clay is an entirely different animal. He's renting the back of a shop from a retired teacher, Eloise Parker. They get along, but it would be pressing the bounds of their relationship to call them friends. Now, I want to clarify what didn't happen. No one broke into Eloise's house. No one hit Eloise. No one threatened Eloise. No one even went so far as to call Eloise a bad name. All the physical and emotional harm that Eloise experienced came from within her. In one very real sense, Adam Clay's real enemy should have been Eloise herself. But the self-harm that Eloise inflicted was fatal. That doesn't mean that Eloise wasn't a victim, though. Eloise had been stolen from. That wasn't all, though. If all that had happened was that Eloise had lost her own money, she likely would have recovered. The thieves were able to fool her and empty the bank account that she managed for a charity. Eloise couldn't face the board of the charity to explain what happened to the money. Adam Clay is every bit as capable as John Wick. There's a difference, though. In Clay's previous life, he would track down the rich and powerful that were abusing their power and privilege to the harm of those that depend on them. The organization that he belonged to, the Beekeepers, kept their numbers small and their operations sparse. The more people you have administering justice, the harder it is to ensure that they really are administering justice and not abusing their position. So they weren't taking down corrupt governments or run-of-the-mill criminals. One of my favorite moments was when the Beekeepers organization reviews the reasons for Clay's operation and decide to extract themselves from involvement. Almost like they're saying, "We thought he had gone rouge. Actually, this is within protocol if he's right. He may be wrong, so we won't be sending him back up. But those of you that oppose him no longer even get so much as a good luck." Clay's targets are thieves. Even though their theft led to the death of someone he respected, he does not engage in a campaign of execution. At every step, he gives his targets an out. He's here to destroy the infrastructure they use to extract money, not human lives. Collateral damage may include human lives, and he's not particularly sorry about that, but it is only collateral damage. If the criminals solemnly swear that from this day forward they will seek gainful, productive employment, and as a gesture towards that good will kindly step aside and let him destroy their machines of crime, he will make no effort to do any more to them. There is no sense in which I want my children to grow up to become John Wick. If I were to reopen my Kung Fu Club, There's no sense in which I want students that go on to become John Wick. I don't want them to become assassins. I don't want them to seek vengeance. I don't want an execution to be at the top of their to-do list. There is almost nothing about Adam Clay that I would object to a child or student emulating, though. I think we could have a very healthy discussion regarding how well Clay sticks to his ethics at the end of the movie when he confronts the big bad and his associates. Certainly there's room to be displeased with the sheer amount of human collateral Clay is willing to tolerate. But at that point we've
Established my proposal is sound in principle, now we're just haggling over price.